think it's going to be hard to start off every week of Persona like 5 without talking about like every time the songs come on, or like you never see it coming. I mean, I'm a little disappointed that they still haven't put that track down at least at like some point, because you know it's the best fucking song in the whole game next to the final boss track. But you know, that's spoilers as hell saying what the hell that is. But just me, it's a good ass song, probably next to Willpower. However, though, there were some interesting things with this episode to talk about, and a lot of it has to do with it has something to do with the content of the episode, but also as well, you can kind of tell where it's like, ooh, you can tell they are saving quite a bit of like money, or you can just tell that it's like they are just low on animators, and it's like, this is where it's kind of what I feared like coming into P5, where A1 is doing so many shows nowadays and they're preparing for new ones, and it's just like, this is the issue where it's like, you've got like a big company handling a bunch of titles, and they're also as well, you've got you can't forget that a lot of their animators also do side stuff for other companies as well, and other animation studios. A lot of them kind of like are freelance, and it's like, you can really feel it, at least in this episode, where I felt like a lot of the still shots, like there was quite a few of them in there, but at least they were really consistent and gorgeous. There wasn't a bit where like woof, but I will say it's like, it's hard to say, because like we've talked about the show as well for quite a couple of times, where it's like, I generally love so much about like Persona 5 the game, with its colors, it's vibrant, it's just how floaty and wacky everything is, like with its animations, and like we knew that was going to be something we could sacrifice. And I mentioned this last week, where it's like, okay, if they are going to be taking stuff that they obviously cannot do on a TV, but like on a budget, then they have to replace it with other things. And so far the show hasn't done that. It's been really heavily trying to emulate. I at least appreciate them trying to emulate some of the good stuff from the game. Like, again, another like one thing that we saw in this episode was an all-out attack with like Anne, with like everyone in there. I loved that, and I was like, okay, again, like I was still saying, it's like I would love if they actually had like the whole big text thing going around when they did it. But I kind of like that she did the little quote that she does when she does the all-out attack as well. I believe also as well where in one of the victory animations as well. And like there's a few tidbits here and there in this episode, but let's kind of talk about this one. So with this episode, we find out that, wow, yeah, no, Kamoshida is just getting more onto the jerk train. More and more we find out about this piece of shit. As one thing that we get to see is like how he is pretty much trying to bone Han like immediately. Although it's like, oh, they're dating and everything. It's like, no, he is straight up using the relationship between like Anne and Shiho to his fucking advantage, where it's like, yeah, she's a starter on the volleyball team, and if you don't do whatever the hell I say and all the creepy stuff I want you to do, then yeah, you're gonna have to go and like, you know, do some real dark shit that is like really not, I don't feel very comfortable talking about some of the stuff. But it's like, you see where it's like, clearly like he fucking beats Shiho and hints at some really other horrible stuff that he does to her, to the point where like she was crying like when like Alamia like met up with her and was like trying to talk to her, and it's like Shiho got to this bit where she was jumping off a fucking building. That is how fucking dark like this character, where it was like, I can't take this anymore, this is painful. And you see throughout the entire episode, Joker and Skull are literally trying to get like people to grass on him, where it's like he's built so much fear out of everybody, where it's like they just refuse to talk to him. Even when it's like trying to talk to Shiho, when they're trying to talk to the other guys, like it just doesn't work until that happened. And that was the last straw for like a couple of people, where one of the guys like kind of stood up. I forget, like the problem is, I know he's like the moon Arcana in the game, but it's like I always kind of forget his name, because to be fair, he was one of the more forgettable kind of like social links in the game to me. But it's like, yeah, no, like you see him step up, and this where it leads, where it's like, fucking this piece of shit Kamoshida is like, what are you gonna do? Hit me? Fine, just give me an excuse, just do that. And he's talking about all this like this horrible shit, where it's like, oh well, she's got a low chance of living, I don't care, what's a vegetable gonna do to me? And it's like, oh, like the fact that he is holding Ryuji back, he is like holding him back, and it's like this guy wants to fucking leap at him, and he's like, oh yeah, no, by the way, I'm gonna fire you all, I'm gonna mention this all, and it's like, lols, like, he is like, and by the way, Joker, you're someone who's already got a criminal record, so that for you, yeah, no, you're going to juvie, you're straight up going to prison if once I get this on the next board meeting. And here's the issue I had with the episode right here, and the fact is that they go straight back in immediately. Also as well, a side thing is Arn is there as well, where she actually got like took into the meta nav, but however she went a completely different way. They found the treasure, they went through all of that like immediately. Nothing with the dungeon really was done, no real kind of battles were happening in there, they just skimmed out. And I know obviously they've got to do that in animation, you can't spend like what, like 3-4 hours in the dungeon like you do in the start of the game, or maybe even more depending on, like, I understand that, but it's like there's some really nice areas, and I feel like the one thing that like P5 does great is its dungeons and how flashy and how much it paints a picture on these characters. Like, that's something I kind of liked as like a little background thing that we got to see, and it's not really there then when they get to the treasure and it's like, oh no, this is all his greed and everything. It's like we can make him have kind of like a mental shutdown. However, this could be dangerous, this could lead him into actually killing himself, but it's like, if you want to take that risk, it's like, we can do this. And it's like, this is the less deadly way than murdering this guy. And like when we see as well when they try and get out and Arn is like captured, and of course Shadow Kamishino is being a fucking creep, trying to like cut up her dress and like do all kinds of really nasty shit like to it. It's when we get to see Joker Skull come back, try and save her with Morgana, and this is where like immediately we go straight into Arn's persona, straight into, to be fair, I felt like her like transformation out of like a lot of the characters in the game I felt was one of the weakest ones. I felt like Ryuji's one was pretty strong, Ozzy Joker's one, but like the way I have the fight just goes straight in, fight a boss, which actually I mentioned that last week where it's like, oh, they're fighting actual monsters that they do fight in the game. I'm pretty sure the fucking toilet demon, I'm pretty sure that's like really later on, but I cannot remember honestly. It's been a hot minute. Or the fact that it is a boss at first and then it becomes a casual enemy later, but overall they do finish it off again with a all-out attack, which this time we get to see all the kind of characters do a little bit of the pose, and right at the end like that's it. And the general episode was pretty much that, and it's like how it closed off with like they're talking about, oh yeah, the phantom feeds, that's kind of what we're like at the moment. And it's like we see the episode end with, in Japanese it's a text calling out Kamoshida, saying that he's doing all this stuff and that phantom feeds are going to come after him and steal his heart. So I mean, yeah, like again, like one thing I did, I guess, plus is like they didn't show the opening this week because it was like they wanted just extra time, and you could tell it's like they're trying to cram so much in like all the time. And it's like this show has the issue of being like 24 episodes, B, its studio is stretching itself out so much because of all of that. Although I will note, talking about like thing that they stretched out and showed a lot in this episode. Wow, they A1 really likes teaming up with Sony. That's the one thing, because you see a lot of times people on their fucking phones, and what you see that Sony symbol on there, and I'm like, oh, you motherfuckers, you funded half of this shit, you pieces of shit. I'm like, they're smirking when I was looking at product placements, and I'm like, oh, you motherfuckers, I love that. I don't know, it just made me smile, because like, yeah, just show it in don't even hide it. Don't even try and show it. It's like the bit where you see it in the SAO where it's just Sony blowed up on everyone. It's like, just, yeah, why not? Just don't hide it. If you're gonna fucking like hustle your products out there, might as well fucking do it. But again, the show has a pacing issue so far, which is a shame because I do like some bits about it. But then again, it's not. I'm still at that point where it's like, why would I ever recommend the animation for people unless they wanted to see, like, unless they played the games? I'm still at that point where it's like, I cannot recommend this to someone that's like, I really want to go through the game, but it's like, I don't want to go through like 60 hours worth of gameplay. I honestly don't know what to do, but then again, I don't think it's a bad show. It is just, compared to how much I loved the game, it's like, it's just going through so much stuff, and it's like, I'm trying to say this more as a Persona 5 fan and less than an anime critique. This is more as someone who loved the game a lot and loves the Persona franchise. And it's weird because I really did like P4, and P4 had those issues as well. However, I feel like it was more impactful because of the dungeons in P4 are a lot more weaker than they are in P5. P5 really makes it a whole statement about like the dungeons are just so special and have so much going on with them. So I feel like they kind of took away a big part of the game there, and they didn't really replace that with anything. And so far, I'm hoping that like the animation kind of steps up a little bit, and I'm talking more about the show in general and not more like the animation career on there, because I feel like this was an episode where it's like, wow, we just did not have a lot of people working on this episode. We're too busy working on Dali and the Franks. We're too busy working on all of these fucking shows. It's like, yeah, like A1 is stretching themselves thin, I feel. But overall, I'm curious to see what you guys think. But that's all from me. Thanks always for watching, and I'll see you guys though next time.